तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and we are reading the conversations of 28th September 1883, and it started by a visit to Keshav's house, and after finishing that, Master on his way to Dakshineshwar has stopped in Jayagopal Sen's house, and there Jayagopal's elder brother and some other pandits and devotees were sitting, and Thakur is talking with them. And the talk was about the householder devotees, and it has been said that there are such obstacles, certainly. Besides, the children may be disobedient. There is no end of difficulties. Now, sir, what is the way? To that, Sri Ramakrishna replies, it is extremely difficult to practice spiritual discipline and at the same time lead a householder's life. So he acknowledges the fact, but extremely difficult does not mean impossible. It means there is a way, and that Sri Ramakrishna is telling. Now, there are many handicaps: disease, grief, poverty, misunderstanding with one's wife, and disobedient, stupid, and stubborn children. So, what the householder has added, Thakur has added much more difficulties. These are facts. I don't have to give you a list of them because you know them as an householder. But still, there is a way out. One should pray to God, going now and then into solitude, and make efforts to realize Him. So he talks of solitude. So the devotee asks, never must one leave home then for solitude? Or because it is difficult in householder's life, so should we leave the home? Or for solitude temporarily, should we leave the home? Master, no, not altogether. So he is telling of now and then go to solitude. You don't have to give up house altogether. Let you be there. Whenever you have leisure, go into solitude for a day or two. So that is the correct statement. For a day or two, go into solitude. And previously also he had said, going now and then into solitude. So that he makes clear, you don't have to give up your house, but for a day or two you must go into solitude. At that time, don't have any relations with the outside world and don't hold any conversation with worldly people on worldly affairs. So solitude should be very strict. Then only it will function. Otherwise, in solitude and you go on gossiping on cell phone these days, that will not do. Don't have any conversation with worldly people on worldly affairs. So even with so-called worldly people, there is a talk about God, it is different. So worldly people talk about worldly affairs, this must not be done. And have any relation with the outside world. That is the first thing. You must live either in solitude. Now he gives an alternate. Alternate. You must live in solitude or in the company of holy men. Holy men here means sadhus, sannyasis. And there is a new question arises from where we have to read today. Neighbor, how can one recognize a holy man? Because we see thousands of people putting on ochre cloth, lakhs actually in India. But are they all to be taken as holy men? Will the company of any one of them do for our spiritual life? These are very practical questions. And Sri Ramakrishna is equal to that to reply. So the new question has come, how to recognize a holy man. To that now Thakur replies, Master, he who has surrendered his body, mind and innermost self to God is surely a holy man. Can you find this out? He has surrendered his body. His body, he does not take it to be his anymore. The body belongs to God, and God may use it in the way he likes. That is the first condition. Secondly, mind. He will not use his mind. God should use his mind in any way he likes. That is the second condition. And innermost soul. Here, soul is spiritual being, heart, or the I consciousness. That is the innermost being. That I consciousness should not be used by his will. He should leave it for God to use. That is the definition of a holy man. He is surely a holy man. Now, how to find it out? Thakur will tell us. But this is the definition of a holy man. He who has renounced woman and gold is surely a holy man. So whether he has renounced, given up any connection with enjoyments and the means of enjoyment, woman and gold, is surely a holy man. He is a holy man who does not regard woman with the eyes of a worldly person. So many things he is giving. Does not mean that he does not talk to women. Does not mean that he will not guide the woman. Does not mean that he will not reply to women's questions. But he will not look at women with the eyes of a worldly person. जार मन प्राण अंतरात्मा ईश्वरे गत होय छे तेनी साधु जेनी कामे कांचन त्यागी तेनी साधु जेनी साधु तेनी स्त्री लोक के ऐहिक चक्के देखे ना ऐहिक चक्के by the worldly eyes, by the gross eyes, which looks on a woman, as opposite to the man that man is. This produces the lust ultimately. If I am a man looking at a woman with this ordinary consciousness, by my gross eyes. Then that is the root at the development of lust. But he is looking at a woman. In what way? Thakur himself is telling. He never forgets to look upon a woman as his mother. So here we find in Tulsidasa's statement, Parastri Matra Saman, but we are defining a sadhu now. So sadhu has no Swayam Sri. So all Sris for him are mothers. So this is a Bhava Chakshu, because this is not a physical fact. So he is telling by physical eyes don't see. By Bhava Chakshu, you see that she is a mother. And to offer her his worship if he happens to be near her. This is also bhava. He does not to go and literally do puja to her, but mentally he worships her. So that is the attitude. The holy man constantly thinks of God and does not indulge in any talk except about spiritual things. That is the external sign of a sadhu. So many ways he is describing how to recognize a sadhu. This, or this, or this, or this, or all. And this is last one, and even the previous one, are obviously external signs which will be easy for you to recognize. Does not indulge in any talk except about spiritual things. Furthermore, he serves all beings. That is very important. A sadhu is he who serves all beings. How he serves? Knowing that God resides in everybody's heart. These in general are the signs of a holy man in general. So to the reply how to recognize a holy man, Thakur has described in detail. Never. Must one always live in solitude? Though he has never said so, but the devotee being afraid, he asks again. Master. So he explains the principle of living in solitude. Now here always means barabar thakte habe. That means not a continuous stay, but in the beginning one should live with the sadhu. So how many days we should live in the sadhu? That is the question here. Always throughout the life, should we live in the company of a sadhu? Or in the beginning we should live with the sadhu? That is the question. And so Thakur replies, haven't you seen the trees on the footpath along a street? They are fenced around as long as they are very young. Otherwise, cattle destroy them. But there is no longer any need of fences when their trunks grow thick and strong. So if your devotion to God has grown thick and strong, then you do not need this. Then they won't break, even if an elephant is tied to them. Just so, there will be no need for you to worry and fear if you make your mind as strong as a thick tree trunk. So the question always has been replied. First of all, try to acquire discrimination. So in the company of sadhu, what you have to do? You have to acquire discrimination between the real and the unreal, between the permanent and the temporary, between Brahman and the appearance of the world. So that is the main requirement. When that has gone strong in you, then you can live anywhere. Break the jackfruit open only after you have rubbed your hands with oil. So acquire that discrimination and then indulge in the world. Then his sticky milk won't smear them. So the new question, neighbor, what is discrimination? Because Thakur there has only used the word discrimination and its effect. So the question comes, what is discrimination? Master, discrimination is the reasoning by which one knows that God alone is real and all else is unreal. This is Thakur constant theme. Whether he's talking to sannyasis, whether he's talking to householders, whether he's talking to Master Mahasaya, who was a householder and had children. So this is one Thakur's constant theme, remember. The Vedantic discrimination, Thakur is telling, it is a compulsory for everybody. Real means eternal. Real means eternal means whether a thing is real or not can be tested by its being eternal. And unreal means impermanent. So to understand real and unreal is difficult for an ordinary man, no doubt. But to do that also there is a way. If a man calmly thinks, he can easily understand that everything in the world itself is not permanent. It is vanishing. It is like a passing show. It changes and goes away. Everything in the world, that is not difficult to understand if the mind is not very much polluted. And from that one should conclude this is unreal. Because if a thing is real, how does it vanish? And if a thing is unreal, why will it not vanish? If a thing is unreal, how will it stay permanently? So with the help of this reasoning, one should go from eternal and temporary to real and unreal. This is Thakur's teaching everywhere. I remember many years back, some good devotee told me that Thakur's discrimination and Shankaracharya's discrimination is different. Thakur's discrimination is not between real and unreal, but between permanent and impermanent. Thakur every time tells that real and unreal means permanent and impermanent. I said, no, not at all different. Thakur is telling the practical means of finding the real and unreal, which is possible for an ordinary man if just he keeps his mind a little calm. He can observe that things are not permanent, and that becomes the reasoning to find that they are unreal. So, Shankar says real and unreal and Thakur says something else. No. Thakur is telling the same thing with the process of reaching that. He who has acquired discrimination knows that God is the only substance and all else is non-existent. See, substance, or we may say reality, vastu in Vedanta, substance having qualities, that is not the idea, but reality. And all else is non-existent. See, Thakur has reasoned like that. From the impermanent, he has come to non-existent. Clear? This one para. With the awakening of this spirit of discrimination, so this discrimination is not only intellectual analysis or reasoning. By reasoning, he has arrived at this. But he is imbued with the spirit of discrimination. Spirit is the bhav, the feeling. With the awakening of the spirit of discrimination, a man wants to know what. So when the spirit is aroused, he does not want to know things of the world because they are impermanent, because they are unreal. And he wants to know God because that is the only permanent thing, that is only the eternal thing, that is only the truth of his life. On the contrary, if a man loves the unreal, clear everything. I think this para is one of the most important paras in the gospel. We meet several such paras. Such things as loves the unreal, such things as creature comforts of the body, name, fame, little subtler, but also related to his personality, and wealth, that means to enjoyment. Devasuk Lokmanya Tata. Okay. Then he doesn't want to know God, who is of the very nature of reality. Here's what reality is used. Through discrimination between the real and the unreal, one seeks to know God. So, householder, to know God, has to go to holy men or solitude and think of God to attain first discrimination between the real and unreal. God is only real, everything else is unreal. So, if he loves the unreal, he cannot think of God. If he loves God, then only he goes to God's word, direction. Listen to a song that is Thakur's style. That is Ram Prasadi, I am on Beda Tejabi. Come, let us go for a walk, O mind, to Kali, the wish-fulfilling tree. And there beneath it gather the four fruits of life. Normally, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, but here leading to the ultimate. Of your two wives, dispassion and worldliness. Because they are attached to man, so they are like two wives. Bring along dispassion only. Dispassion is a development over discrimination. When you are filled with spirit of discrimination, comes this dispassion. On your way to the tree and ask her son discrimination, like that it is described. Here in Prasadi song, first is dispassion, dislike for the things of the world, and that generates discrimination about the truth. The full song is not given here, it has been given elsewhere. By turning the mind within oneself, one acquires discrimination. So another way, mind is tuned outside the world, sense organs and the world. But the mind is turned inside, within oneself, one acquires discrimination. And through discrimination, one thinks of truth. Then now he's talking to the householders, my dear. And he's telling, first he should develop discrimination. And then he's developing the theme of discrimination. Through discrimination, one thinks of truth. Then the mind feels the desire to go for a walk to Kali, the wish-fulfilling tree, go to God. Reaching that tree, that is to say, going near to God, Thakur has beautifully explained the figurative song. You can without any effort gather four fruits, namely Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Yes, after realizing God, one can also get, if one so desire, Dharma, Artha and Kama, which are necessary for leading the worldly life. That much. Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamo osme bharatarshava, the Lord tells in the Gita. So to lead a worldly life, you do require the virtuous life, some money, some desires. But after realizing God, after reaching the final goal of discrimination and dispassion, never. Then why should one call the word Maya? People call the word Maya because you should not look at the world in the gross eyes. After realizing God, you see God everywhere. But the devotee asks this question. This is a beautiful session. All philosophical questions regarding spiritual life are being answered one by one, asked and answered. Master, as long as one has not realized God, one should renounce the world. Neti, neti. World is unreal. Renounce it. Following the process of neti, neti. This is not God, that is not God. This is not permanent, that is not permanent. But he who has attained God knows that it is God who has become all this. So then the drishti is totally changed. You don't see things. You see things as manifesting God in them. So, Hathi Narayan, Maut Narayan, cow Narayan, tiger Narayan, man Narayan, woman Narayan, that will be totally different. Then he says that God, Maya, living beings, and the universe form one whole. Form one whole means God includes the universe and its living beings. Suppose you have separated the shell, flesh, and seeds of a bale fruit, and someone asks you to the weight of the fruit. Will you leave aside the shell and the seeds and weigh only the flesh? Not at all. So, important point, apparently different from Shankar's Neti Neti. The meaning is like this. What about this world which you are seeing? Unless you explain it, only telling it is unreal, it will not do. What happens? My teacher taught me that if you say world is unreal, unreal, a negative realism sticks to you. World is unreal becomes psychologically the unreal world is. And so, when you see, I have given an example someday about the children throwing that rubber snake on me. So when you realize that God has appeared as everything, now the world is really unreal and you are not bothered about it. You are seeing the world. Perception and consciousness are different. When you go to a desert, from a distance, you are seeing water. So perception is water and your consciousness also is water. Now you reach that spot and you see there is no water. From your consciousness also water has vanished. And perception is sand. Your consciousness also is no water but sand. Now you get up and see again water. So perception is again water, but now consciousness is not water. Consciousness is sand appearing as water. So that is what happens after realizing God and not half realization. Realizing that God Himself has become all this. That is the difference of emphasis. one has come to love this section of the gospel. Beautiful. And all this talk is going with the householders. So you must weigh the whole of it, the shell, the flesh, and the seeds. So world is included in God. That means the world is an appearance of God. The world, we say it is unreal. Okay. Who has created this unreal world? Not my mind or your mind. This is wrong interpretation of Vedanta. This is a Buddhism thought foisted upon Vedanta. Subjective idealism, subjective superimposition. What right or what capacity have I to superimpose the world on the God? It is superimposed already. Instead of God, I am seeing the what is a fact. And so, when you find God, then God appears as the word, becomes natural to a man. And now world is explained. Now the weight of the bell tree is full. Now the world is explained. It may be unreal, but it is created by God. So, it is nature of God to appear like the world. That is the meaning of creation. And so God includes the world. Clear? Only then can you tell its real weight. So it's not different from Advaita, but this is immanence, God everywhere. The shell may be likened to the universe and the seeds to living beings. While one is engaged in discrimination, one says to oneself that the universe and the living beings are non-self and unsubstantial. So the process. At that time, one thinks of the flesh alone as the substance, and the shell and seeds as unsubstantial. But after discrimination is over, one feels that all three parts of the fruit together form a unity. So this is not Ramanuja's Vishishtha Advaita. No, because Ramanuja never recognizes that there is something beyond. That is a great difference. This is called immanence, transcendent immanent reality. That which is nirgun itself is sagun. That which is beyond everything itself is the creator, preserver, and destroyer of this world. That which is beyond all names and forms has the nature of appearing through the names and forms. Then one further realizes that the stuff that has produced the flesh of the fruit has also produced the shell and the seeds. To know the real nature of the bell fruit, one must know all three. That means negation and then illumination. That are the words. Neti neti iti iti. Negate the world and then see it in the light of the reality. That is illumination. Beautiful. Full Vedanta is described there to the householders. It is the process of evolution and involution. Anulom Vilom. The world after its dissolution remains involved in God. So he's describing now the Srishti Sthiti Pralay. That is Anulom Vilom. That is, the world after its dissolution remains involved in God. And God at the time of creation evolves as the world. Butter goes with buttermilk and buttermilk goes with butter. If there is, both are created together. If there is a thing called buttermilk, then butter also exists. And if there is a thing called butter, then buttermilk also exists. If the self exists, then the non-self must also exist. as non-self, as unreal, as the appearance of the self. The phenomenal world belongs to that very reality to which the absolute belongs. So reality is both nirguna and saguna. Absolute means nirguna, beyond everything. It belongs to reality, and to the same reality, the phenomenal world, that means the world which appears, many also related, belongs. Again, the absolute belongs to the very reality to which the phenomenal world belongs. So total identity should be realized. One who knows the truth knows that it is he alone who has become father and mother, child, and so in our life now, that God himself has become father and mother, child and neighbor, man and animal, good and bad, body and holy and unholy, and so forth. So the very vision changes. It is called Samabuddhi, Samadrishti. Then again question arises. Neighbor, then is there no virtue and no sin? Then is there no virtue and no sin? Master, they both exist and do not exist. They exist today, not at that time. And that time also, the Brahmajna is not a fool. He knows they are called virtue and vice, but for him it is God alone. If God keeps the ego in a man, then he keeps in him the sense of this differentiation and also the sense of virtue. So if I consciousness is there, after realization, if the man has come back, God has kept the I consciousness in him, then he is aware of good and bad, virtue and vice. But in a rare few, he completely effaces the ego. Rare few. Avtaras many. And those go beyond virtue and sin, good and bad. So, Brahmajna is described, Jivan-Mukta, as dwelling only in the virtue or beyond them. As long as a man has not realized God, he remains the sense, he retains the sense of differentiation and the knowledge of good and bad. You may say virtue and sin are the same to me. I am doing only as God bids me. Saying is different. But you know in your heart of hearts that those are mere words. No sooner do you commit an evil deed than you feel a palpitation in your heart. If we so desire the feeling of the servant ego, in that state the devotee says, "O God, thou art the master and I am the servant." Such a devotee enjoys only spiritual talk and spiritual deeds. He does not enjoy the company of ungodly people. He does not care for any work that is not of a holy nature. So you see that God keeps the sense of differentiation even in such a devotee. So before realizing God, definitely there is good and bad. After realizing God, if the ego is there, sense of good and evil is there. If God has effaced the ego, then there is no good and bad. Clear statement. No doubt remaining. Never. You ask us, sir, to live in the world after knowing God. Can God really be known? Master, God cannot be known by the sense organs or by this mind. So it is not an object of perception to the sense organs, to the mind. But he can be known by the pure mind, which has no subject and object division, which has no sense of enjoying the objects, the mind that is free from worldly desires. Manasoi amani bhave dvaitam naivopalabhyate, Gautpad Ekarika says. When there are no desired objects, then the mind itself has become God. Now, one more question, never who can know God? So, this point of realization, who can reach? Master, right. So, this question Thakur has liked. ठीक के जानबे Oh, that means the whole nature of God we need not know by our intellect. What is need? But as far as it is enough to know as much of Him as we need, we know He is the dearest of the dear. We know He is the only reality. What more need we know? We know that He has become everything. What we need to know? What need have I of a whole well of water? One jar is more than enough for me. So, fulfillment of life, krutarthata, when it is reached, we need not only go on thinking of God's nature. And went to a sugar hill. Did it need the entire hill? A grain or two of sugar was more than enough. Why two? One for itself, one for carrying back. Never. Sir, we are like typhoid patient, similarly given by Thakur. How can we be satisfied with one jar of water? We feel like knowing the whole of God. So the desire is there. Master, that's true. But there is also medicine for typhoid. Reply to everything. Never. What is that medicine, sir? Master, the company of holy man. So I come back to that. Repeating the name of God and singing His glories and unceasing prayer. So, three things. Company of holy man, repeating the name of God and singing His glories, and unceasing prayer. I pray to the Divine Mother, Mother, I don't seek knowledge of this type. Take thy knowledge, take thy ignorance, give me only pure love for thy lotus feet. I didn't ask for anything else. So that is how the desire for knowing this or that can be removed. As is the disease, so must the remedy be. So if you are typhoid, you have to use the remedy of typhoid. The Lord says in the Gita, O Arjuna, take refuge in me. I shall deliver you from all sins. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam raja aham ta sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. Take shelter at his feet. He will give you right understanding. He will take entire responsibility for you. Then you will get rid of the typhoid. Can one ever know God with such a mind as this? Can one pour 4 seers of milk into a 1 seer pot? Can we ever know God unless He lets us know Him? Therefore, I say, take shelter in God. Let Him do whatever He likes. He is self-willed. What power is there in the man? So, some questions are getting repeated. So, Thakur has closed the topic. Wonderful, this visit to Jayagopal Sen's house after visiting Keshav. We pass on to next with the devotees at Dakshineshwar, because this topic has already come. So it is written 2. And this is chapter 16 in the English book. In Bengali, chapter numbers are not there, so next chapter has come. And there is a jump. That was September, isn't it? We can once more confirm. Huh. Sorry. I said September in the beginning. This is November 28. I said September 28 in the beginning. September is over. And November also one date has gone. And this is November 28. So from November 28, we go to December 9, Sunday. Sunday, December 9, 1883. Sri Ramakrishna was seated on the small coach in his room with other Manomohan, Rakhal, M, Harish, and other devotees, still more, because it is a Sunday. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so rest everything over. The master was describing to them the exalted state of Sri Chaitanya. So, once more that talk had come. I believe 10th August and 16th August. But now it has come back to us again. To understand Chaitanya. Master, Chaitanya experienced 3 states of mind. First, the conscious state, when his mind dwelt on the gross and the subtle. Both are called conscious state. Second, the semi-conscious state, when his mind entered the causal body, that is semi-conscious. Waking and Swapna both taken to be first. And then causal body, that means that which we experience in deep sleep. And was absorbed in the bliss of divine intoxication. So there, like deep sleep, we are lost almost in God. Third, the inmost state, when I do not exist. When his mind was merged in the great cause. So one is enjoyment of the bliss, nothing else in the world, he and God, and nothing else of the world, he and God, result is joy. And then when he becomes merged in God, then cannot be described. These 3 states. It is called great cause, Mahakaran. What is Mahakaran? What is great cause? The Karan to Karya, the Karan undergoes change to become the Karan, apparent. What is in deep sleep, that very I, the beach, the seeds of all the waking and dream sanskaras are there. So when the sleep breaks, it comes back to the dream state or the waking state. But the cause of all this is the unchanging Brahman. That does not undergo change to become this world. That means he appears through names and forms as the word. So it is the real cause, but it is called great cause because it does not undergo change. The cause does not undergo change to become the effect. That is deep sleep to dream to waking state. Ishvara with the avyakta world, then subtle vyakta, gross vyakta. But beyond that concept of Ishvara is the nature of the reality, which is Brahman Nirgun. And that is the cause of all these things without undergoing a change. So it is called great cause. This agrees very well with the 5 koshas or sheets described in the Vedanta. The gross body corresponds to the Annamaya kosha and the Pranamaya kosha. Yes, that is what I meant. Now it has come. People told me that pranas are subtle. But We experience the function of breathing, inhaling, exhaling, blood circulation going on, food being digested, and hiccup. We experience these in the gross consciousness itself. So, from experience point of view, they belong to the Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya and Pranamaya both belong to gross body, Sthula Sharira. And the Pranamaya Kosha, the subtle body, Annamaya and the Pranamaya Kosha. The subtle body to the Manomaya Kosha and the Vijnanamaya Kosha, both are called subtle body. The mind sheath and I consciousness sheath. And the causal body to the Anandamaya Kosha. Only bliss of God, that is Anandamaya Kosha. And the base of this is Brahman. The Mahakaran, which we explained now, Thakur is explaining, the Mahakaran, the great cause, is beyond the five sheaths. When Chaitanya's mind merged in that, he would go into Samadhi. This is called the Nirvikalpa or Jada Samadhi. Jada because no consciousness of the anything other than God. This is Chaitanya's personality. While conscious of the outer world, Chaitanya sang the name of God. While in the state of partial consciousness, he danced with the devotees. And while in the inmost state of consciousness, he remained absorbed in Samadhi. In that dance, there is no word utter, only bliss. So, what is dance you understand by this? The Anandamaya Kosha, nothing but Ananda and Ananda, that causes the bodily movements which are perfectly harmonious. That is dance. M to himself. Is the master hinting at the different state of his own mind? There is much similarity between Chaitanya and the master. Master. Chaitanya was divine love incarnate. He came down to earth to teach people how to love God. One achieves everything when loves God. There is no need of Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga means willfully controlling the mind, willfully controlling the body. That is not necessary if love of God has come. A devotee. Sir, what is Hatha Yoga like? A master. A man practicing Hatha Yoga dwells a great deal on his body. I think this topic we shall take tomorrow. We have heard of Chaitanya states and no need of Hatha Yoga. Then what is Hatha Yoga? We shall read tomorrow. Om. तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना ॐ शान्ति 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 हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्रीरामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।